the game while you listen.
What's going on here?
But this ragtag crew of adventurers is covering the problems of the average player.
Where should I begin?
Discussing the home brews, modules, and the latest content for all things D&D.
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
It's Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything.
What you're feeling is so normal and perfectly natural.
With your host, the Pirate Captain.
Everybody loves me, and I don't know why. I'm an asshole. I really am. The Pirate Captain is a dick.
Chef Bolgg.
Let me take a couple steps back so I can, really get this point across.
It's bullshit!
And Loke the Bard.
Instead of making a deal with Cthulhu or, the greater devil, you found an imp who was willing to give you dark vision in exchange for a gallon of blood.
With a little mayhem, mischief, and a bit of bardic charisma, it's time for the show.
Well, that's right. We're back at it again, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls of proper mutiny age. It is Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything. As always with me, my bestest buddy Bolgg.
That's me.
And Loke the Bard.
Ryan.
And Mr. Producer.
Hey, guys.
This is a D&D podcast with, and we'll talk more about that next thing here in a bit, D&D podcast where we discuss the rules, hang out with you, and just enjoy all the stuff that Wizards is putting out. Oh, yeah, I cringe just saying that. I am the Pirate Captain. Like I said, always with me is my bestest buddy. I know last week we were missing our bestest buddy Bolgg, but he was sick, so me and Loke held it down, and despite copyright claims, Loke will not be able to change the title of the name. Make sure I got to get through these obligatory podcast things, so I got to show you all the fun stuff. Here we go. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. It's very easy. All you need to do is just look up Chef Bolgg and Pirate Captains. All right, that's it. Usually, if you type in those four words, 5 words if you count, and you will always be able to find us everywhere. We also have a YouTube page where we're going to be doing. This is where I'm getting to that second part. Our YouTube page, where every other Friday, not this upcoming Friday though, due to time constraints and time problems. We will not be doing a galley episode where we kind of just venture more into the different pop culture, the nerd culture. Our last time that we talked about it, we went from talking about One Piece to Berserk to how to fix the Marvel Universe. Those are exclusive to YouTube, so make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube. Ring the bell, so that way whenever we do anything, you are following that. Follow us on Twitter. We're pretty active on Twitter for the most part, not as active as we could be.
Formerly known as Twitter.
I don't care. You can call it whatever. Like if you come up to me and you go, "Hey man, did you X?" and I'll be like, "Yeah, I've X'd." Or if you come up, oh man, that actually just sounds more like I've done drugs. Like I'm trying to hang out with the kids down in high school. Hey guys, are you Xing? Oh man, God, I'm so. That's like the second time I've made myself cringe today.
Have you seen that post on X? That sounds like a porn site.
It does. It really does. Like I don't think there was like a whole thought through that, and I don't care. Like I like Twitter. X, it doesn't matter. I spent a lot of time on my personal Twitter talking with Tampa Bay Lightning fans. So like that's literally like most of my Twitter interactions right now. Every now and then I talk to different people about stuff, but make sure you follow us in all these different areas. We really appreciate it. You're what helps us kind of continue to do what we do. This is probably one of the longer running D&D podcasts out there. We've been doing this for 3 years now. I want to say we're coming up on 3. Either we passed. Oh man, Mr. Producer, can you find that out for me?
Yeah.
How long have we been doing this? I know it's been several years. Even the couple breaks that we had to take, but I appreciate everybody out here. We've got a great episode for you today, including we're going to do that live reaction we were finally talking about. I think we're going to do that. We also want to talk about the new Deck of Many Things that's come out, the controversy surrounding that, which I think is stupid. I really do. And if we have a time for it, we'll probably get into some other stuff.
November 2020 was when the first episode dropped.
All right. So yeah, man. Wow. We're on our 3-year mark here in it was like November 22, right?
It's not giving me a date, but I could dig deeper.
If you could for me, please. Let's go ahead and get into the Deck of Many Things, the new book that's coming out. First off, why are they still putting out new books? They are trying to do this whole new edition. Why are we still trying to put out new books? Because
money.
but money, like
that. But that's why they're not calling it a new. That is the whole reason they're not calling it a new edition. Is because they don't want you to stop buying the books until the new book comes out. Yeah.
So, but this is, you want to know one of the big, like in my personal opinion, one of the biggest reasons why the second Shazam movie failed is because
it wasn't good.
No, it was pretty decent. It wasn't like, oh my God, I have to go catch this movie, but it was decent. Like when I say decent, it like, that's it. Like it was just straight across the board. It wasn't like here and it wasn't low. It was good. And I like Shazam. He's always been like one of my more favorite characters with superpowers. But when you had James Gunn come out and say that none of this matters in my grand scheme universe that I'm getting ready to build,
they're rebooting.
Pretty much said, why do I have to go watch this movie? There's no point to go see this movie if it doesn't matter. Like this was before anybody knew whether it was going to be like hit or miss. Like they had already said that it was going to be miss. And like I said, it was just decent across the board. It was like straight line, like zero, flatlined, if you will.
That's a greater problem with interconnected universes anyway, because I went and saw Renfield because I wanted to fucking watch it, not because it was part of some universe.
But that's besides the point. But the fact that James Gunn said that, hey, look, this movie does not matter in my grand universe.
The urgency wasn't there. I didn't see Shazam 2 until it was on streaming.
Right.
Because the urgency wasn't there anymore because
it doesn't
universe
matter.
Is going away. It doesn't matter.
So they're still putting the stuff out. And we all know, because they've kind of like leaned into it, that, hey, look, we've talked about this in the past episodes of how this stuff is not really going to matter, because you're just going to end up playing either with the new book or the old book. And if the way the new book's going, you're definitely going to be playing with the old book because it's just better. But this one, the deck of many things, this is my problem with a lot of stuff. And if you haven't seen the new South Park Panderverse, you need to go watch it because it really incorporates everything that I'm talking about. This from Bounding into Comics. Dungeons and Dragons upcoming the Deck of Many Things expansion to introduce franchise's first prominently featured autistic hero. Look, here's my thing on autism. Autism is a secret superpower that humans have, and for better or for worse. Because usually if you have somebody who is autistic or anywhere on the spectrum, they are amazing at one thing. That you can pick whatever it is. You can take the easiest example I can think of off the top of my head is the guy that flew in a helicopter over the city of New York and then got out and then like perfectly drew the city of New York to memory. I know people that are on the spectrum that can play music beyond all levels. I know guys that play video games that are beyond all levels. They're just really good at it. But when you're pandering out like this, what are you getting out of this? You're going to put so much pressure on a DM. And I'm going to tell you, there are people who they're excited about this because, it's the representation. But then when your DM doesn't play this character the way, somebody feels is right, all you're going to do is create more controversy at your table. Like all you're going to do is split players as somebody who comes in and you're going to have a DM that's like, look, I just don't feel comfortable playing this hero. He's like, I'm just not going to do them justice. And then you're going to have people that are that want you to play the hero and you can't, or you play the hero and you just don't do a good enough job, and they're going to feel disenfranchised. Yeah. Like this, you're taking the option away from the players and saying this character has to be A, and there's really no reason for it.
There's kind of a focus problem that I've had with the Wizards with their lore in general. I prefer setting agnostic stuff to come out of Wizards, where you can use this in any setting, any place. So when they start doing this stuff where they're this is a pre-Greyhawk goddess bless this Greyhawk hero or whatever it was, I don't remember the exact details on. But when you start putting in those direct concepts into the lore, that's not setting agnostic anymore. And so then you have to work that in as a DM. If you're using that book or that background or stuff, you have to now work that into that might not work in your setting.
Yeah,
regardless of the pandering part, just the fact that that's not what I need from Wizards. I need tools from Wizards.
Right.
I need, how does this deck of many things make my game better? How does it work? What does each card do? What does it cost? What are the how rare is it? How many of them exist in the world? You know, that's the kind of stuff I need from Wizards. I don't need this. If you want to write a book that's a novelization, that's where you put the lore. You don't put the lore in the toolbook box.
And there are plenty of good authors that do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm look. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bolgg.
I was going to say what bothers me is that as media keeps growing and trying to be more inclusive, they're becoming pandering, even if they don't mean to, because there's a giant difference between inclusivity and pandering. You know, the media I'm thinking of that did inclusivity correctly most recently was Halloween Kills, because there was a gay couple. They'd never acknowledged, said anything like, oh, look, this is a gay couple. It just, they were gay. That was
I'm going to argue with you there. Into the Panderverse was the greatest inclusivity of everything. All right. That is already, if you haven't seen that South Park episode, you need to go watch it. And then you'll change your mind. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the greatest.
Non-parody. Well, you
didn't say that.
It to me, being truly inclusive is having people without having to point out what these people are. If you have a gay couple, great. You don't have to show them holding hands or kissing. They can just be together. Like, you don't have to make a big point of it. That's good inclusivity. If you want to make the hero autistic, awesome. Give us the context clues. Don't make this giant post about her being the first openly autistic hero. That annoys the shit out of me.
Oh, you're gonna get even more annoyed, because here you go, right here. Her father had grand plans for her future, but Asteria defied all expectations and refused to fit into the mold he tried to place her in. Yeah, we're still doing this. I think she looks really cool. Like I like her. I like her design. Like,
but this is not a novel.
Yeah, it's not a novel. This is for DMs. Like, this is like, here's your items.
It's a tool. It's a toolbox. They've expanded the deck. They've added more cards to the deck of many things, and they've done rules where how you can use the deck itself to create adventures.
Right.
And they've done things where they've made it like it where it's like tarot cards, where you can give a foreshadow. That's the word I'm looking for. Right. You can foreshadow things that are coming using a fake tarot card layout that you've pre-rigged, obviously, to set up the adventure at the beginning. Or you can give your party a full deck, but you've removed the certain cards that don't work for your campaign and replaced them with new cards that are coming in as part of the set.
Yeah.
Instead of the standard, I don't remember what it is off the top, of 24 deck of many things, they're now giving you 60 cards to build that 24 deck out of.
No, we need 52, because that's the standard. If somebody's got a loaded deck in here, all right. Shout out to Bounding Into Comics. Normally we try to use sources from different areas. I know Bounding Into Comics, and I know where they stand on some things, but they make a really good point on this one that I like, is the fact that we're focusing on the autistic part of it, but then we're also dropping like the race and half species from D&D to try. And it's like, what are you doing over there? Like, you're not making content for the average player. You're not making content like we are the average player, like all four of us. All right. Each four of us has our own different beliefs on politics, on life, the universe, and everything. But we come together. If you actually took a look at our group and you laid everybody out from, Bolgg, Loke, Mr. Producer, Felix, myself, Rava, everybody that's been on the podcast before, and you laid us out, you'd actually find everybody on the political spectrum, and we come together. We are the average player. All right. And I'm going to tell you, this just does nothing for us as the average player. And it goes back to that argument that we made a couple weeks ago. Wizards will make something and they'll blame you for not liking it, knowing that's not what you wanted. We need more stuff like you're saying, Luke. We need the stuff that's like, here's how the deck works. Here's new options you can add to your deck. Hey, here's a new feature to the deck, like a shuffle feature. Like if you can get a card that, you know, it makes you play 2 cards, like weird things like that, like fun things. But we're focusing more on telling a story that doesn't need to be told in this book. If you want to go write a novel about this character, all right, you know, maybe I'm down to read it. She looks like a pretty cool character. But
yeah, I have nothing against the idea of the character. If you go and just like the Forgotten Realms novels that are out there, or the Dragonlance novels that are out there, you write a novel with this character and you do a good job with it, great.
yeah,
But putting it and then if you reference that in your rule book, saying, you know, the sword that this person used or the deck that this person used has this configuration in it. So that if you're a fan of that book, then you could pull that, you know, the stat block.
You
for
do
that
it's
person.
Asteria's, you know, it's Asteria's stuff.
Yeah,
Like
that's fine. But when you create a character specifically for a DM's guy, it's a one-off NPC that almost nobody's going to use because it's not a set. It's not even from their primary setting. This isn't a Forgotten Realms character. This isn't the. I don't even think this is a Greyhawk. I think this is the pre-Greyhawk setting. I can't remember what it is.
But even then, oh, I'm sorry. Go for it.
Yeah,
man.
no. I'm just saying they're pulling from a setting that they no longer use. They no longer publish materials for. So nobody plays in that setting.
But I'll give them that. I'll give them that. At least they're putting it, and they're not trying to like shoehorn it into like Forgotten Realms or any of the newer settings.
But it would fit just fine in the newer setting.
Yeah, but I think if you try to like push it in there, I think players are going to have like an even harder time wanting to deal with this because they're, like I said, we're considered. I would consider us the average players. All right, like I said, we hit all spectrums of the political ideologies out there, but this, like I said, this going into like a storyline that doesn't matter kind of gives you the option to like not even worry about it. But at the same time, why is this the focus of this book? We've talked about this in the past, that they're either making books for the DMs or the players, and you have to decide. And this one, I don't know. This one is them trying to sell a novelization in the form of a DM's book. And when nobody buys it, they're going to be mad. They're going to come out and tell the players, it's your fault. You didn't like this. And that, because that's Wizards' thing. Like, it's their go-to thing.
Well, like,
yeah, and there is good stuff in this book theoretically. You know, they do have new feats, new player option type backgrounds.
Which I'm all about. I like the background. I like cool backgrounds.
But those are all going to get overshadowed because this is the
headline.
The headline. Yeah, this is what people know about this book, and they're, you know, okay, if you have a friend or family member that is in that community that, you know, you want to buy them this for their birthday or something so that they feel included, that's about the only situation where this adds. I'm not.
I got you one better than having to buy them a book so they feel included. How about you just include them?
Yeah.
You know, let me solve all your inclusivity problems right now. Instead of like, oh man, hey, I bought you this book. It's something we may not be able to use because it really doesn't have anything to do with the game we're playing. But here's a book. Or, hey man, you want to come play D&D?
I think, you know, to go back to what the pirate captain said earlier, I think it opens criticism for trying to have neurotypical people role play neurodivergent character. It opens a pathway for criticisms that are on that.
Can you imagine the controversy if in one of these online games they start using this book and one of the online professional DMs tries to bring in this character and they bring him in behaving like, say, Forrest Gump?
Or like,
how offensive that would be.
Oh yeah. Like, I'm not even one to be like offended on things like that, but at the same time, like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And the thing is, autism is a spectrum. That's why they call it the spectrum.
Right.
Outing myself, I'm on the spectrum.
Bro, we
I'm
all
on
are
the
all on the
I'm on the very high functioning end of the spectrum, but if you hit the wrong spot, you're going to piss people off.
Yeah.
And they haven't actually told you like where she's at on it either. So
right.
You
So
have,
they're
like,
they're
Forrest
they're
Gump
like
or a Bolg to work.
They're establishing a movie autistic where basically they have a superpower.
Yeah. And I'm not trying
which
to
annoys
offend
the shit out of me.
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to offend anybody when I say like the superpower thing, but like
Well, I'm literally saying movie autistic, they have some sort of dumbass superpower.
Well, no, like, because I know people in the past have had because I've talked about that on my radio show, and I was like, it really is like they are going to be amazing at something. You have to find out what it is. They fall in love with something, and it's not to be mean or anything like that. Because I've met many people, and you can hold conversations with them, and some people just don't want to. They're non-verbal, but they're amazing at drawing. Drawing is the one that I usually find that a lot of autistic people are really good at, and sometimes it's amazing. I knew this dude that could draw like comic book level art, but how's that going to translate to her power or whatever she can do? Like, what about her is this? Like, where are we hitting that? So it's more towards your point, Bolg, is like where are we at when we come to her? And then it just leaks right back into Loke's part where he's like, now you have a DM on one of these online videos that's doing like the YouTube, and they're trying to do a real quick one-off. They bring Asteria in because that's her name. They bring her in, and now all of a sudden you're not playing her right. And now people are going to be mad at that guy, and that guy's not even going to know. He's just trying to, show the book at what it's worth. I don't think that the book should be there shouldn't be a whole lot of lore outside novelizations and like
well, you do like societal setup, like what Goblin Society is
that's fine,
typically like that is the kind of lore, the goblins
lore
breed really fast and have litters of children. What's that look like in a society? That kind of lore is what you put it, because you're putting that kind of stuff in the monster manual.
So my thing is more like I was trying to think of like one of the like the mini series, like the little one shots that they do where it's like the campaign settings and stuff like that. Like if you have a little bit of lore in there, kind of like what you're saying, where you're building society, that's fine. But most of I should not have to buy a DM. I should not have to buy.
Campaign setting or an adventure. Like in the adventure, which takes place in a specific world with a specific map with specific rule. You might, as part of the history of that, have a little blurb about this particular hero that's going to affect this adventure. If you're finding the deck of anything, in that case, you might put that in there a little bit.
That would be cool. Like, I'm down for that. Like a little side note. Hey, you could meet Asteria, and it tells you about Asteria and stuff like that. Like the little paragraphs on the side, like you're saying, and that's fine.
Or even like they've been doing for like Tasha's, for Xanathar's, have her be the voice of the book, and have it come across.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
for that.
Like, you don't have to just point out, oh hey, yeah, she's autistic.
Yeah, some people don't really want to point it out either. Like, I know a lot of people that are more like on the high functioning side, and they're just like, look, man, I just don't like talking about it. So because they just want to live their lives like it doesn't exist, like it doesn't affect them. But yeah, no, that's fine. Like there are many things, but trying to and this is actually a dig into bounding into comics, because they picked up the article too, because they're not the only ones covering it, but that's been the big focus. And that's it all boils back down to Wizards, is this is their marketing of you could buy our book, but here's why you should buy it. Not because it's got the deck of many things. First autistic hero. And you're like, shoot me now. Just shoot me now.
They are definitely pandering to the max there. Mm-hmm. And it annoys me because, there are those of us who have been around for a while, and we're begging for actual content for these, older systems, and they're just putting out this kind of stuff.
I mean, it's you hear a lot of YouTubers and stuff talk about it, that they're pandering to, and I call it the old Twitter crowd, because the Elon Musk and the Jack Dorsey versions of Twitter are night and day difference, and you see that with all the different content that was there and what was promoted and stuff like that. It came out in the Twitter files. Like, I'm not going to get weirdly political on the stuff that I was following with that. But they thought that people who were on Twitter were the crowds that people were buying, but that's not the average player. That's usually people who were on Twitter and more social media were not, they weren't really, they're either bots or they're the extremists on both sides.
Yeah.
On absolutely both sides. And they had no representation of the average player. I'm going to tell you, even some YouTubers, and now we have to include ourselves on this, we're closer to being the average player than some of YouTubers out there. There are really good YouTube channels out there that are that I would say are very much close to being the average player. I would say probably Animated Spellbook. There's the Wizard Hat guy. I like his videos too. There's like a bunch of them, and go to their comments and read their comments, and you're gonna get that extremism, but you're gonna find a very loving middle. I'm gonna tell you the best place if you want to get good feedback on this stuff is not even go to the YouTubers or the Twitter people, because we're gonna be biased towards our opinion as the average player. Go talk to a game shop somewhere, your friendly local game shop, and say, hey, look, I'd love to run this campaign. I want to play test it with these players. Can you put out, see if anybody wants to come in? They're going to be people like, bro, I don't have to run a campaign. Hell yeah, I'm in. And they're going to show up to play, even if it's a one shot on a weekend, and you play it. And then you ask them, hey, what do you guys think about this? Is this fun? Are you having fun? Is this working for you? And those average players are going to be like, I really didn't care for the deck of many things, but I really did like the way the Ranger was. And you're going to be like, okay. And you just kind of like take your notes, as DMs should be doing. And there you go.
Yeah, and that they're dedicating an entire book to the deck of many things to begin with, which in my experience has always been a campaign ending device.
Yeah.
Because eventually your characters are going to get greedy and pull too many cards, and it's going to TPK the party. Just
you go into the old...
The way the deck works.
And you go into the old chaos.
So using this book, you could probably sort through the bad stuff so that, that does not happen to your party, and just put 20 cards that are things you want to happen to your party instead of, the big bad stuff. But you don't need a whole book for that either.
Yeah, because you could really just pull the old module and do just fine. Which I honestly,
they've got a new DMG coming out though.
We're not going to get into this again.
But
about how dumb this really is, because this is a dumb ploy, and I'm with
one
you
magic
on that.
item. It's one magic item that's already in the DMG. If they wanted to change the way it works, they just change it in that new DMG.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't buy a book.
Yeah, then they couldn't sell the convenient $100 bundle that comes with the tarot cards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's the worst part. All right,
it was November 21st.
November 21st. I was close. I knew it was like in the 20s. So what? We're a little under a month away from our 3-year anniversary. That's
crazy.
Cool. Yeah, man. Yep. It's been a wild ride. We've had some really awesome people on in here, and got to do some really cool things. From Necronomicon to when we were broadcasting out of my work studio. I do miss that. I really do miss that. I like the vibes changed a little bit, but it's still not bad. Like, it was definitely different. I went back and listened to one of the last few episodes we did in the studio, and I could just hear it's just different. Like, when we're all together, it's a different thing. All righty. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, and we never got to it. And I want to talk about the D&D playtest 8. And here it is up on there. I need to screenshot this face because this is hilarious. Because like, I really wish I'd have used this as our thumbnail for the one video I did where it was like, I used Greta Thunberg because it was just funnier to use her. But he's like, oh, you don't like what we gave you? Oh my. Well, I wonder why. I want y'all to also take a look at this for those of you who are viewing this on YouTube or in this podcast, not in its video format. If you look over at the start of the video, or if you go down to the bottom when you scroll through the timeline bar, if you've been on YouTube recently, you know that they have like the peaks and valleys, and this shows you when players are watching. Now, we talked about the Bastions a couple weeks ago, and no one cared. And I think it's an underutilized system that is it needs its tweaks, but it's going to be cool. But it didn't need to be in a whole play test. So you have the Bastions, nobody watched, and then you come into the cantrips, people watch up until it got less important, and then they dived off, and then it gets to the play test 6 results, and then it goes up for about like 7 minutes, and then it drops off. And we're going to find out why, because we're going to actually live react to this right now, me and the crew. So you guys ready?
I think it's, well, I just want to add one thing before we start. I think it's awfully telling. The thing everybody cares about is the thing they put at the end of the video.
Yeah.
Because they know there's a large percentage who's going to start watching the video and go, okay, this is boring, and turn it off and never reach that last section. And then when they find out about that last section, the changes and stuff that they announce in there, but they're gonna, oh, but we told you about that months ago.
Yeah. Well, guess what?
You can't be mad. You're not allowed to be mad.
I
told you, and you weren't mad then.
Oh yeah. I wonder where I've heard this argument before.
Yeah.
All righty. Here we go.
From UA6
you guys can hear, right?
is that
Yep.
the most of the classes in it, people are feeling really good about.
Full stop. No, they're not. No, they're not. I don't know where he's getting this. He's saying that and I hate to stop at this early, but that is a dumb point. He's like, oh, most classes people are feeling really good about. No, they're not. They're not.
We've talked about this before too. The way they ask their survey questions, they kind of rig it in their favor. The fact that even they have to consider like a 60% with the way they're calculating it, that's where it starts looking bad. It's like the way they've rated this, they've because it's a sliding scale of 5 points from you really dislike it to you really like it. So anything between 3 and 5 is now positive results.
Yeah.
You know, so they're able to twist these numbers to be like, yeah, you know, 80% of people were positive on this. Well, if 60% of that 80% is at a neutral or a, you know, not negative.
Oh yeah. No,
it's going to throw off your numbers.
Yeah, but do you really want to read through what everybody has to say?
Right.
We don't pay people for that.
If
we
they
gotta
wanted
make money on our dumb books.
If they wanted to read it as a positive or a negative, it should be, do you like this? Yes or no. It shouldn't be the sliding scale like that.
Right.
That's going to it's tainting their result. It lets them play with the numbers too much.
It lets them say stupid stuff like that. Like, people really enjoyed what we've done.
So the rogue, the paladin, the cleric, the bard.
Full stop. Nope. Yet again. There you go. Saying my favorite freaking class, the bard. Bull. Nobody liked what you did to the bard. I'm going to tell you, I'm tired of the bard being the go-to class in this game. The go-to class. Why does it get to do everything? And I've talked to several people, and I know that's not he's like, well, you know, Pirate Captain, that's not really a play test. You're not getting everybody's results, but I have a feeling it's more like Loke the Bard is saying with that sliding scale where people are like, I just don't like this, but I like it enough. Of what didn't you like about it? What specifically gave you
saying
this?
That's not bad gets counted as a like.
Yeah. And I'm not about that. So full stop. You're wrong. The bard is stupid. The new bard, the bard you had in the original playtest was really good because it was back to doing what the bard does. All right.
But now they also, we can go on.
No, you no, I want to hear your point.
They've released multiple copies of the bard. The bard that's in the playtest 6 is now unplayable. That they've gone back to the
5e bard.
The 5e spell lists.
Yeah.
Because anyway.
Yeah.
And the druid struggled the last time we came up. All of those classes received satisfaction scores
What's the
in
satisfaction
either
score?
the 70s or up into the 80s.
That's not okay. That's not an A. You can't release content and it not be an A. I don't want a C or a B in my content. I want A level content. All right.
Well, and that's where I was saying that they're rigging these numbers, because that's not, that 80% is 80% of the people took the survey have answered on the positive side of this sliding scale. So
Well, no,
even
I
if
think
it's just the not bad, if say of that 80, so you got 20 people, say it was the survey is only 100. You got 10 people that said, I really hate this. 10 people said, I kind of hate this. 60 people said, this is okay. 10 said, I like it.
That would still, but
and
that would drop the averages.
That still comes up to this 80 as they're calculating.
I would say that would
No
even
Child
drop
Left Behind, Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah. I would say that they would even drop their averages even more.
Yeah, because it's the sliding scale is allowing them to make these numbers sound better than they are.
Absolutely.
Overall score at 89%.
Well, okay, in his defense, the rogue isn't bad. Like the new rogue really isn't that bad.
Yeah.
So that one I
But
can
the
see.
old rogue wasn't that bad. So they barely changed it. So
yeah.
In that group, the class with the lowest satisfaction score was the druid, but even the druid made it into the 70s. And
that is not an acceptable result. I do not want C-level content. Who goes to a movie? A perfect example. Who goes to see Shazam 2, other than me, because I'm a big Shazam fan? Who goes to see Shazam 2 knowing it's going to be a mid-level movie? Nobody went to go see that. Like, absolutely. So why are you going to take C as a passing grade? We passed, guys. Bro, this isn't college. You're not trying to get a degree. You're trying to sell me content. Jesus.
They're gonna say it's the UK system where 70 is an A still.
Yeah, well, guess what, Wizards? You're in America. Bring it back to the we don't use the metric system for a reason.
Many of the druids' individual features even made it up into the 80s in terms of satisfaction.
Who cares?
People really are enjoying the new elemental fury, the wild resurgence. So we continue to see a lot of positivity about new features that we've been introducing in the various classes. There were a couple of pain points.
How many of these new features have they already gutted though? Because haven't they gutted like a lot of the other classes that got new features that they just went ahead and just gutted? They're like, no, we're not doing that.
Well, these are specifically the version that is in playtest 6.
Oh, okay.
In this latest version of the druid, the main ones being wild shape and the circle of the moon subclass. The other subclasses,
look at the camera,
circle
goober.
of the land, got 86%.
I say that and I never look at my camera.
That is a massive satisfaction improvement
Yeah.
over the 2014 version. Circle of the Sea, the brand new subclass, got 80%. And Circle of...
This is the dude that will drive until his brake pads are nearly rubbing the rotors and going, it's fine. It got a C. Bro, man, how do you accept having that level of content? If my content isn't like, I have deleted videos I have made for this channel, for the YouTube, for the podcast stuff, for a lot of stuff. I delete stuff I do for work all the time. If it is not up to my standard of content, I'll delete it. I will not show this content. Like I was like, it's just not worth it. How do you go through life? Like, how do you produce for such a big game knowing my content made a B? Don't worry, guys. We're doing great. We made a B. How do you do this?
Of the moon,
well, and if it was a B, if it actually was a B, of 80% of your fans really like this, that would be, I would have no problem with the music, because you're never going to get 100% of the fans that like something. However, if 80% really like, but that's not what this is.
Right.
Like I said, this is 80% have chosen between 3 and 5 on a 5-point scale.
Yeah.
You're already,
It's
No,
the
I'm
Todd
listening.
Howard, it just works response.
Yeah, and in this case, it doesn't. The players are not happy.
Improved. So we're on the right trajectory with it.
No, you're not.
But we need at least one more round with it.
You
in
need a
UA.
lot more.
So our plan is the Druid base class will go back out in our next player's handbook dedicated on our Arcana, mostly to give a revised version of the Circle of the Moon. Because base class of the Druid overall
That's
is getting
good news.
thumbs up.
Because they're still working on it. They haven't.
Yeah.
The bad news is coming.
Yeah.
With mostly just Wild Shape and Arch Druid needing a little more love. But
Yeah, the Arch Druid
we're on a
was
good
really
path,
useless
with the
in
Druid.
PHP.
We are still seeing with the Druid, and we knew this. Still, essentially two main factions of people who really liked the Wild Shape templates that we provided before, but then a larger group happy to be using stat blocks. We are listening to both groups, but charting a course that will be solid.
Okay, so what are you saying right there? We're listening to both groups, but we're charting a course towards what he's getting. I guarantee towards the one group that really likes what we're already putting out, because those are the guys that I'm like, no, man, figure out what's wrong with it and find the compromise, because this is crap. And granted, like I said, they're coming out with another Druid in the next playtest, so that's fine. But this is ridiculous.
Solid for the class and healthy for the game.
Healthy for the game, my
and so
ass.
again, people will get to see the Druid visit again in our next player-dedicated UA. The one other
Why
class
did you even show him
in
nodding
UA
his head?
6
That was useless.
that will be returning to the future UA is the Monk.
Right.
So the Monk is the class that has appeared only once so far in this series. So we already planned on.
Do we like the Monk the way they
No.
did it? I didn't think so.
Anything bad?
Yeah. I think it definitely needed some work. I'd have to go back and re-listen
Well,
to the
the monk
episode.
is the class that needed the most work.
Yeah.
So why that wasn't in like UA 1 and then again in UA 3 and then again in like UA 5, so that they had the time to get the work that it needed done. But it was one of the it was like the last one they put out.
Didn't we
6 was the first
yeah.
one it was in and only one it's been in.
I think it's one of those things that we talked about having, like, it had a scaling issue, if I remember right. Like, it still has a scale, like they have yet to figure out how, and I think that we actually proposed a better solution to their scaling issue. I have to go back in it. Yeah, I have to go back and revisit that episode, because that one I think was pretty good.
On the Monk, whatever.
Go for it.
Again, this is another, I've watched this already, like this is another positive news thing. We're
it's not all doom and gloom, and I'm really kind of like
give him credit.
I want to give him credit, but I like some of the stuff.
The
that
doom
he's
and gloom's
saying,
coming. No, there's doom and gloom.
Yeah, it's right there. You see that peak right there? That peak, right? Yeah. But that, like, I want to give him credit for at least coming out and saying this stuff. But like you're saying with the sliding scale and everything, like it really hurts me, because he's doing it to appease. I want content that is A. I don't want a C or B content. I want you to get as close as A as possible. If you're at 89, you're like a B plus, I'm fine with that. But you got to be a B plus. If this is like we're scraping our ass trying to take off and we're barely hitting C, we're barely hitting B, that's not good content, bro.
Its score ended up being, unless it was like 100% satisfaction, we planned on the Monk appearing at least one more time, so every class got to be in UA at least twice.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the Monk is going to come back. The Monk has a lot that we're going to be revisiting. There were a number of things in the class that scored really well, and then other things that were some significant pain points. If I were going to boil down where sort of the main pain points are,
is this it?
It's the constraints.
Yeah, this is still going with the Monk.
And so one of the things that we will be addressing in the next version of the Monk is how can we make it so that you do still have this resource you have to manage, but you don't feel like your class fantasy and also your effectiveness are being held back by those resource constraints.
Oh, well, you might as well just get rid of the whole Monk, because
every class has resource constraints of some kind that they have to deal with.
The fight?
But we agree with the feedback that those restraints are a bit too tight right now in the monk. One thing that will be changing in the next version is we are currently going through the monk and looking for any place where there is both a usage limit and a discipline point cost.
Is that y'all or is that who's crashing in the background? Is it them or is it us?
That's them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they record live in their offices, so
I get that, but holy crap! If I'm in here recording a video, you might want to, probably put off doing some of the handiwork until I get done.
Sure.
And of course, that's the best news part right here too. That all that distraction is in.
Basically, the feature either needs
well
a usage
played there,
constraint,
handy people.
like you can use this only X number of times per day, or a discipline point cost. Not both.
Right.
We're also looking at more places.
That's like basic logic.
Lower discipline.
Should have been in the original.
Wait, you're telling me Wizards doesn't use basic logic when they're doing their class design?
Yeah, that
dare you?
In the original class design, that's the way the logic that should have been applied. Not even the revised version applied. Now, finally, in the revised version, they're going to apply the basic knowledge that should have always been part of their design from the beginning.
Right. Ugh.
Costs, and even places where we can remove those costs. So we're excited about the version of the monk we're working on now based on this feedback. And we think we're going to see a lot of excitement about what people see next time. Here's the other thing, though, about the monk. We're planning right now on just the warrior of the hand going back out of the monk subclasses. That might change between now and then, but right now our plan is just that one because the warrior of shadow, the warrior of the elements, they both.
I don't like the fact that they're using the warrior instead of the way of.
Yeah, the name change.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. Like the way of kind of like seems like more of like a monotheistic thing versus like the warrior just sounds like you're all about throwing hands, which I'm all about throwing hands, but
and again, I agree with what this part where the subclasses are now that they've tweaked them where the elemental one what used to be a problem, but in the revised version, the subclasses are not the problem.
Yeah,
it's the base class that's the problem.
Well, it's terrible scaling. Like they have to fix the scaling issue. That's like one of the biggest. Like you fix that, and I guarantee you people would play the monk more often.
To go back out, I want to pause for a moment and say how remarkable that is.
Yeah.
The last time that we did a satisfaction survey on the Way of the Four Elements, it got 11% satisfaction.
I wonder why.
That is one of the
in their rigged system.
True.
We couldn't even rig the votes against our own shit.
lowest satisfaction scores of anything we
history.
have anything we have surveyed in this game. The new version, the Warrior of the Elements, made it into the 70s.
Nice.
So
okay, still not good enough. Still not good enough. We made it to the 70s, guys. We made it to the 70s. Okay.
That's the player base going, it works.
That's not
Make it better.
But he's so happy about it. He's so happy, guys. He made it to the 70s.
From 11%. That's good.
That is a significant increase, but it's still not worth it.
I will give him I tell you what, I will give him the Pirate Captain Certificate of Achievement. It's printed on toilet paper, but it's still a certificate of achievement.
But they're still going to do another version of that one. So that's good. It's gone from 11 to 70, and they're going to release another version that could hopefully fix it all and get it up into that higher range. That's the good news. Now I think we're about to get into the bad news, if I remember correctly.
All right. Well, like I said, I will give him the Pirate Captain Certificate of Achievement. Mr. Producer, use the one ply though. Just the one ply. One ply.
Yeah, because I like the monk news. It's when he gets to the other classes news is after the monk.
Okay, let's see what we get to.
However,
it just dives off.
Shadow and Elements are not going back out, at least right now. We'll see how our development goes. But for sure, the base class and Warrior of the Hand will be going back out for more feedback. But what this means is that
he said, "But
Rogue, Ranger, Paladin, Cleric, and Bard, they're done in UA for now.
Right.
And
See,
they're
that
moving
right
forward.
there. Did you hear one of those that are done?
Oh yeah, the
That
bard.
the bard and the ranger
I don't even remember us talking
both
about
need
the
help.
ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah. They really had it going with the original bard that they released with it. Like I liked it a lot. I was excited. Like we're bringing it back to its like support role / cat. You know, like it
He's
could
gonna
like
go.
dabble.
He's gonna go more in depth on the ranger here in a minute.
Okay.
To now our development for the book itself. I do want to pause for a moment and talk a little bit about the ranger here. There were some pain points in the UA6 version of the ranger where, some concern
Pain
about
points.
favored enemy, about foe slayer, and deft explorer. Those concerns brought down the satisfaction score of the class overall. We don't need to send this class back out though, because with
what?
Yeah.
Those words just
You
came out
don't
of your
like-
mouth.
You
I was
don't
saying
like this, but we're not gonna fix it.
No. Keep going. He's got one more sentence.
we did an A/B test where we tried out different versions of the same features. The previous versions of those features scored so well that for the book, we're going to create a synthesis version where basically we take the best elements that have arisen in the class in the playtest and make sure that those are what get the spot.
But they're not going to test them.
You did. We'll get to that here in this. But here's what he's saying: you didn't like A, you like B, but because we worked hard on A, we're gonna go ahead and put them together.
No. What
we
he's
don't
saying
want to see.
at level 1, you didn't like A, you like B, we're going to give you B. At level 2, you didn't like A, you liked A, but didn't like B, so we're going to give you A. And they're going to zigzag back between the two versions.
Oh, gosh.
Per level.
That's what I'm saying.
Not having tested any of it together.
Yeah,
in the official player's handbook.
And so the official player's one that's going to come out is going to be an untested.
Well, hold on. We'll get to the untested part.
Frankenstein.
We'll get to the untested part, like you're saying. But that's the point I want to make. The point I'm making right now is the fact that you didn't like A, but we liked A, and we worked so hard on A that we're going to give it to you anyway.
Yeah.
But you don't understand what you're trying to do. Like I'm sure you're a brilliant game designer. You had to do something to get to this point, but holy crap, listen to what you're saying when you say this stuff. You didn't like this. We liked what we did with this though. So we're going to give this to you anyway, despite you not wanting it. Bro, you want to talk about out of touch with the freaking common player.
Spotlight in the player's handbook. So essentially, we've gotten all the feedback we need on the Ranger.
No, you haven't.
We see what people really like. We see what people really don't like, and we're going to steer toward the stuff that really excites people.
No,
you're
not.
The way these things develop, that trait A will add on to trait B, and those kind. Well, if you're switching back and forth, you don't know how these are going to work together.
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden, your Ranger could become you're somebody who's blasting some huge, AOE damage instead of being the type of character
targeted,
expert that he is. Yeah.
At this point, just make the Ranger a fighter subclass again, and just give him the ability to have a pet. That.
Yeah, I'm down for that. We're gonna go a little bit further into this. I want to see what it comes up with, and then we'll see what.
Also, while we're
awesome, I love that. He's like, awesome.
I
That's
bet
really good.
You pull up the usage, if you pull up that usage right now, boom, that's where it dropped.
Yeah, it just tanked off. People were so mad.
Talking about the Ranger, another subclass that was wildly improved because the other subclass that was often like below 20% in satisfaction down there with Way of the Four Elements was the Beastmaster.
Right.
Yep.
Beastmaster this time around, 78% satisfaction.
Nice.
All you had to do to fix the Beastmaster was make your pet scale.
Yep.
That was it. That's really all you needed, is your pet needed to scale, because you'd have a pet that you'd get to like level 10 and your pet only has like Your pet can't do anything because it can't hit the armor class because it's a weak ass pet and it had no health, so it just get one shot. So now you have to spend time finding a new freaking pet.
I'm done with you.
That's a good one.
Again, great improvements, tons of excitement in the Rogue about Cunning Strike. Cunning Strike got
I want to get
94% satisfaction.
Okay, so 94.
Cunning Strike.
Yeah. Cunning Strike was good. I really like Cunning
Strike. To say
this guy go. Oh, damn it! I missed it. I was waiting for him to pop back up.
Strike. That new feature. It is clearly here to say.
This guy right here is the worst part about this. And here's my argument to this of why he's the worst. Because he's not pushing back. He's asking he's like you're sending a first-time journalist to go interview a high school principal about why there's a lot more fights breaking out. And he's going, so why do you think there's more fights breaking out? Well, we're just seeing it because of a lack of money to the school. And he's just writing down the first thing that the guy says instead of going, well, what's a lack of money with the school got to do with the reason that fights are breaking out? He's just taking it for everything as face value, and he's sitting here with his little shit-eating grin and going, wait a minute.
Well, they both work for Wizards, so
I get that.
He's not a journalist. He's scripted.
Yeah,
I get that you're scripted, and that's I'm with this. Like this is about as all the live reaction I can handle.
Yeah, and that's why it drops off there. There's no more
content. And look, get somebody. I don't care who. Get a YouTuber in there that cares about the game. Somebody like I'm not saying it's us because look, we're 33 subscribers. There's no way that I'm going to be like, hey, come in and let me talk to you. Granted, I got a radio show and everything like that. Like that's the appeal to having us. But get some big YouTuber in there that's going to ask these hard-hitting questions of like, why are you accepting something that's a 70% and not sending it back out to go get it worked on?
Bring in Brennan. Brennan Lee and Mulligan will not hold back.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I'm just saying anybody that's like,
they don't want somebody that's going to push back because that.
I'm going to tell you, if you probably put somebody that pushed back in there and said, well, why are you going to take this standing down? More people would probably actually watch that. And like you would have this whole like peaks and valleys that the whole episode has would just be just straight across the top. Like everybody would be watching this episode. You'd have more than 2.1 thousand likes on your video because you have just a little yes man with his little shit eating grin. Like I'm telling you, this shit cracks me up. Like, look at that. Look at this goober over here. He's like, bro,
you dislike the video.
Yeah. Like you're not offering anything to us. This is why players are hating it because like if you'd have come back and you'd have told me that we're not sending in, you didn't like what we did with the Ranger, but we fixed it and you have to take our word for it after everything else you've done in the past. You want me to take your word for it, Wizards? Yeah. Good luck on that one.
And again, they've gone back to the class specific spell lists. So the first version of the Ranger was using the primal spell list, not a class specific. So how are you A/B testing that? None of this has been tested.
Exactly.
So you're either going to wind up with a Ranger who is so broken that DMs are going to ban him, or is so broken the other direction where nobody's going to play it because it's useless.
I go back to
like it is now.
Yeah.
I go back to my video right here that we put out. Wizards of the Coast will make you the bad guy and blame you for being mad. Like that. Yeah. That's the truth of it. Like they're going to be mad because you don't like the Ranger. And it's been a point of contention since 5e came out. People just didn't like it. It didn't scale. They had to fix it. They fixed it in Tasha. Was it Tasha's or Xanthar's that they fixed it? Tasha's, I think. And
they fixed the Beastmaster and Tasha's. They fixed with the underground one, the
Gloomstalker.
Gloomstalker. They made a halfway decent, Ranger that wasn't a Beastmaster.
Yeah. And that's the Ranger people kind of want to play, even though the Ranger is supposed to be based more off Aragorn and stuff like that. Yeah. But
the Gloomstalker is Dritz.
Dritz, right? Yeah, I got that one. But that's and that's the truth of the matter. So
yeah,
I'm just I want Wizards to be good. Like, am I asking too much? Yeah, y'all think I'm asking a little too much on this one? Like, I like the fact that you're telling me that you are taking a 70% when you're trying to put out content tells me that you are taking you're not taking the actual time to like, okay, why doesn't this work? Look, you ain't got to reach out to everybody, but go through and find the people that are like the 3s and the 4s. Like I never put when you guys ever write reviews on anything? Like go to like Yelp.
I review stuff all the time.
How often do you put 1 or 5? Unless it's like a truly terrible or like it has to be like how often do you put 1 or 5?
It depends on where it is because it depends on the metric.
I'm just saying in general, like that's just the base. How often do you put 1 or 5? Like 1 being the lowest, 5 being the top. Like the perfect score.
I read a lot of books that I rate on like the Amazon rating scale, and there's probably a good 10% that I'm rating at a 1. Just because the type of books I read, there are a lot of garbage out there that just it's the person. It's almost unreadable English.
Okay,
so it's really bad.
So this is the argument I'm making. Is like very very rarely do you like you're gonna get the people that are just gonna be absolutely they'll hate it just to hate it, so they'll give it a 1, or they love it just because it's you slap wizards on it and they'll be like it's wizards, it's the best thing ever, 5 ever, and it's so you have that spectrum. I would go find the people that are between 2, 3, and 4. You take a myriad of the people who gave it a 2. A myriad of the same amount of people that you gave it 3, and the same amount of people you gave it a 4. Get them together, reach out to them. Hey, appreciate you coming into our survey, telling us what you did or like. Can you break down in specifics what you found to be the problem here? All right. So you do a playtest sample. All right. So 10s. Okay. And that way, when you get that back, you're probably going to come out with, okay, so this is what they didn't like. This is your average. Let's see what we can do to fix this. Re-release that in an unearthed and see if that works out better. I'm going to tell you that would get a better result. It's going to require more work.
The reviews I actually read when I'm looking for a new book or a new product are the 2s and the 2s and 4s.
2s and 4s.
Yeah. Those are the ones that because the ones. A lot of times you'll get, don't buy this. This guy's ugly, or something that has nothing to do with
the
book, or some political whatever. Yeah. And then the 5s are the same way. It's this is my buddy. I am giving him 5 stars because he's a friend of mine. But when you get the 2s and the 4s, you'll get what the real issues are and what the real good points are.
Yep.
So those are the ones I generally read.
So the problem is that would require actual work, which is why a lot of marketing is bullshit. Like it's all they take these surveys and then don't give it any more thought when if you were to do this survey as, write down in this text block what you liked, what you didn't like, what you would suggest we could fix, your suggestions on how to fix that.
I don't want your suggestions on how to fix it. I granted, like that's like the theme of our podcast sometimes is like your suggestions to fix it. I just want to know what you did or didn't like between those scales. I want a sample size between the 2s and the 4s of this 1 through 5 scale. I want a sample size of 2 through 4. I'm going to go in there and find all, like you can put it into an AI for all I care, or you can control F it in a Word document and go figure out how many times it's mentioned that the monk has scaling issues. Okay, well, if it's mentioned, if we have 50 people all together, just to, or let's do an even number. Let's do 40 people because it's just so if we have 40 people and 25 of those people hate the scaling issue, then I'm going to go in there. That tells me, okay, this is probably one of the closer things to being a problem. If 38 people out of 40 hate the scaling issue, that tells me that's a major problem that I got to fix. Or if it's like 10 people hate the scaling issue, then I know it's probably not a big deal. You see what that's it. I don't want to know how you want to fix it right away, because if I ask you how to fix it, then you're going to come up with some dumb ways. Like we like not all of our answers are like to fixing things are great, but
no. But fun. if you have a sample size of like 10,000 people and 1,000 people come up with the same suggestion, and then you've got other smaller percentages going down of people saying the same thing, and then you've got the random like, oh, you should just give them 1 billion hit points, that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But if 1,000 people come up with the same thing, maybe you should look into that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's not a bad point, but like I said, the two, like, and you're going to get that best sample size from the 2 to 3s, or sorry, the 2 to 4s, because they're the ones that probably actually went through the scale. Like if you're getting straight 1s down the board, I'm going to tell you, in every play test, there has been something that I've looked at and I said, oh, I like that. I think that's pretty good. And that so nothing is going to get straight 1s or straight 5s from me, because there are just things that are just garbage.
Yeah, and if you get survey results that are straight 1s or straight 5s through the entire survey,
just throw it away.
Throw that away. Yeah, that survey means nothing. That's somebody who went in and just flagged them all, didn't even read it. And when you design surveys, there's strategies that you need to use to keep out bias and keep out. Sometimes you ask the same question in a different way to see if they answer it the same.
There's one that
see if they're actually answering it rather than just putting what they think you want.
Yeah, that's what I say. There's one that they do in climate surveys for the Army where they tell you to specifically not answer one question.
Yeah.
And or I tell you to answer a question in a certain way. So and I'm down for that. But
yeah, they and none of these surveys have any of those control methods to make sure they're getting valid results and not a bot that's going through and filling out. Yeah. Because I really like this one. I'm going to create a bot to go out and fill out the surveys 40,000 times so that we ensure that we get this.
Yep. Absolutely.
I guarantee they're getting some of those results in there.
That's the only reason they got to 70%. All right. It's time. We've well gone over our time, but it's been a really good episode. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us today. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast, this vlog, whatever you're getting it. Just follow us. Hit that button. It really helps us out. We really appreciate all our dedicated listeners. We know you're out there. We really appreciate you. If you have any questions, any issues, anything you want to talk about, make sure you email us at bolgandpc@gmail.com, or you can message us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere you go. It's always going to be Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captains. If you do recipes for everything, you get a weird cookbook that you really don't want to read. Well, maybe you would want to read. I don't know. But I appreciate everybody.
Don't kink shame.
I'm not kink shaming. It's not kink that you're gonna. It's a weird can. No. With that being said, say goodbye, Bolgg.
Goodbye, Bolgg.
Say goodbye, Luke.
Yeah.
Say goodbye, Mr. Producer.
Later, guys.
Happy adventures, everybody.
Have a happy Halloween.
You've been listening to Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's Recipes for Everything, featuring Loke the Bard. Like, follow, subscribe, and share this podcast. You can also find them on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search for Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's Recipes for Everything. Questions, comments, and mutiny requests can be sent to bolgandpc@gmail.com. And as always, happy adventures.